This episode is sponsored by Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Featured entertainment includes Randy Houser on May 31st and Keb Mo on June 1st. Details and tickets at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Frehley. I'm your host, Jason Frehley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Legendary KISS guitarist Ace Frehley rocks the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia on June 15th. He joined me to discuss his new solo album, 10,000 Volts, as well as his biggest hits from KISS, his love for science fiction, and his passion for art, right down to that famous costume and face paint.
Jason Frehley?
Yeah, Ace Frehley, yes. You have no idea how many times in my life I could go into an auto mechanic and they're like, oh, like Ace Frehley, or it's been a nickname on sports teams. Like people say, oh, Ace, and so thank you.
Crazy. That must be fun.
Yeah, well, you're the original.
Yeah, when I'm in Lowe's buying lumber to build, when I was building my studio, people would come up to me in the store and say, you look like Ace Frehley. And I say, yeah, I've been told that many times. I'm dressed like a bum with jeans and sneakers and a ripped T-shirt, and I just walk away.
You don't go to Ace Hardware?
I don't know. My life, I just take life one day at a time, and I don't plan very much in advance because, we can't control what happens in this lifetime. We can't control the weather. We can't control, supposedly this year, the sun goes through an 11-year cycle, and it's been doing that for the last 100 years. So I'm assuming that's pretty much the way it's going to be. And this is the 11th year, and we're going to get solar winds and solar storms. And I was just reading on YouTube that, people might see the aurora borealis as far down as Florida and Texas.
Man.
Who knows?
Spoken like a true, spaceman, space ace. You're talking, you're talking the cosmos already. I love it. Well,
I stay on top of technology, and I was just watching China's probe on the moon, and Russia was the first. I believe Russia was the first country to land the probe on the dark side of the moon. We landed on the
that was Pink Floyd, I thought.
Side that we see.
Yeah.
Now India has probes on the moon, and it's amazing how people are taking. A lot of space travel. A lot of space travel is now doesn't have to be government. There's private companies that are building rockets and planning, putting up satellites and stuff. It's crazy.
It really is.
Artificial intelligence, that whole thing. I wrote a song about it on the record.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, because you're going to be coming and playing your new album. It's going to be at we got to plug the show. It's your solo tour at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races on Saturday, June 15th. And the new album is called 10,000 Volts. It's a brand new album this year. So yeah, are you playing all? Is it like that album straight through all 10,000 Volts, or do you mix in your other solo stuff, any KISS stuff?
I'd love to do it but it's impossible because we only have 75 minutes to play, and of course I got to do songs like New York Groove, Cold Gin, Rip Out, So. Yeah. Up until now, we've been doing just one song off the album. Okay. And starting this Sunday, we're adding Cherry Medicine. Great. And hopefully after, subsequently more dates, we'll add a third song because the reaction to this new album has been phenomenal.
Oh, I can't. Well, let's do a little bit of a deep dive on some of those songs then. I mean, there's a million Kiss songs I could ask you, but I'm trying to be respectful and talk. Let's talk. Let's break down the new album, baby. So, so 10,000 volts. You said that there was only you were only playing one, and you're now going to add Cherry Medicine. But what's the one you've been playing? Is it the title track, 10,000?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so what inspired you to write that one? I guess the chorus is she hit me like 10,000 volts when I saw her face. But yeah, how'd you come up with that one?
I wrote that with Steve Brown. Most of the compositions on this album, besides except for Stranger, Life of a Stranger, the other song that I wrote 35 years ago with Arthur Stead. What's it called? I'm brain dead.
It's swirling
It's
out in
the fifth
space
song
somewhere.
on, what's the fifth song of the record? Back into My Arms Again. Thank you
There you
very much.
go.
Yeah, but for example, the song Constantly Cute. I was talking to my fiance, Laura Cove, and we were talking, and she's going, we were looking at photographs of me from my 20s up until currently. And I was saying, I'm starting to show my age. She goes, "Oh, stop it, Ace. You're constantly cute." I said, "Shut up. Stop talking." And I had to write that down. And, that evening, I started writing lyrics for that song. And boom.
I love
I'm
it.
I'm really fast at writing lyrics. I can write lyrics on some of these songs. Steve brought me the music primarily, and I'd end up doing a guitar solo, doing the lead vocals, and writing most of the lyrics. But he engineered the whole record and with me, and it's just a pleasure working with this guy. We just hit it off like, salt and pepper.
It's awesome.
I don't know
Uh,
if that's a good analogy
no,
or
it's a good one. Not to be confused with the awesome hip hop group there, his Salt and Pepper. But hey, did you tell me about Walking on the Moon? That's I mean, you're talking about all these space analogies and info here. Talk about how that one came up
yeah.
with that one.
Well, I mean, Walking on the Moon was going to be the original title track of the record. We were going to call the album Walking on the Moon. And I wasn't happy with the record company's artwork. I had sent them some sketches, and I wasn't happy with what they came back with. And as the recording process continued to move along rather rapidly, once Steve got involved with the record, uh, when we did 10,000 volts, we did Walking on the Moon. Steve came up with a chord progression, and I said, this song needs a bridge. He goes, no, it doesn't. I said, it needs a bridge. I wrote a bridge. We put it in a song. He goes, yeah, it doesn't need a bridge. And that's the way we just work. If we're writing lyrics, I can't, and I'm at a loss for a word. Either Steve will come up with an idea, or we'll go on the internet and look up the rhyming dictionaries. You know.
It's got to be a little harder to write a bridge when you're on the moon, over the Sea of Tranquility. That's a pretty big bridge.
Now you're being silly.
Exactly. How about Stratosphere? It's like an instrumental I guess this is the finale of the outro sort of the album.
That's the last song on the album. And to be totally honest, Steve came up with the opening picking part, and I did all the melody and soloing under it. And in retrospect, when I listen to it now, I would have extended it a little longer because, most of my instrumentals from previous albums that I've done usually are 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And this one just kind of cuts out after 3.5 or whatever it is.
Gotcha. Maybe time for one more off the new one. Up in the Sky. The lines can't trust the news, can't trust the law. What's the commentary you're going for there? Kind of says it all, but
Well, that's about UFOs.
How what? There's
Now,
been
originally
sightings, but now they're saying there's nothing.
that song was originally called Fact or Fiction.
Mm.
And then Steve came up with the idea to call it Up in the Sky. And after listening to it, I agreed with Steve's idea, and we changed the title. And it's a, if you listen to the lyrics, it's so obvious. I'm talking about UFOs. The lights up in the sky. Can't trust the news. You can't trust the law. Somebody sees a
Yeah.
UFO. Most of the time it'll get buried. And never even gets to the news.
Right, right. Okay, awesome. Yeah. So have you always been like, because I know you were born in the Bronx in the 50s, but have you always been into UFOs and sci-fi and all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. I mean, me personally I've seen three UFOs in my lifetime.
Okay, we gotta. All right, let's. Wait, tell me. When did
The
this
last
happen?
you want to know the last one I saw?
I want to know. Well, you were born the year of the day the Earth stood still, 50. So you were born for this.
One of
But
my
all right,
favorite
let's go.
sci-fi movies, Forbidden Planet, The Day the Earth Stood Still,
You're a Robbie the Robot.
Latu Verado Nicto.
Yeah, Close Encounter. There's some good ones from. But hey, all right. So when
Yeah.
did you actually see yours?
The
I can't
last
let you off the
UFO,
hook.
the last UFO I saw was about a couple of years ago. I was flying out of Las Vegas to LA, and I think we were passing somewhere near Area 51. And I was like sitting in first class looking out the window. I had a window seat, and I was just looking at the cloud formations because there were beautiful cumulus clouds with a blue sky. And I was just looking out the window, drinking a ginger ale, and all of a sudden, out of one of the clouds, the classic image that you've seen for years of a UFO just popped up out of the clouds for like 2 or 3 seconds and then just went down.
Wow.
And I just scratched it up as okay, Ace, you've seen another UFO. What else was new?
So there I was seeing another UFO again. Oh,
And
that.
how many people claim in this country that they've seen UFOs? I mean, it's into the thousands.
Yeah, and you just did the hat trick. You've done three now. You're
Right.
trifecta. Wow. All right. So to you in your mind, then I guess I should ask. There's no doubt in your mind that there aliens exist.
There's no doubt in my mind that aliens are living among us, that there's aliens living up in Antarctica, or I should say down in Antarctica because it's the South Pole,
Yeah.
under the ice. I
Wow.
mean, Admiral Byrd discovered it. It's been documented, but pretty much the government silenced the whole story and told him to keep his mouth shut. But if you read, you know, the book written by, Admiral Byrd, he kind of hints at it. I mean, that was one of the biggest, the Admiral Byrd, what do you call that? Expedition or something.
Yeah.
It was really almost more of a military thing. I mean, there were a lot of ships going down there, and several of the people on ships saw UFOs. Uh, People flying in helicopters and jets, or I guess back then it was props. Uh, have admitted that they saw UFOs in the South Pole above Antarctica. I mean, what's the big deal? They've been around. They've been around before we were. They were around for the Anunnaki. They were around in Egypt. I mean, the first book I read about UFOs was written by Eric von Daniken, Chariots of the Gods. I read that when I was 15, and he's still in the forefront of studying UFOs and coming up with new evidence all the time, as so many other scientists are doing as well.
I
You
love
know,
it. I love it. Well, at the risk of this interview becoming an episode of Ancient Aliens, well, you said you read that book at 15, but when did you get your guitar? Was it like a Christmas present, like 13 or something?
13.
Okay, okay. So
I
these are
got my
these are dual interests of yours, science fiction and guitar playing at this point.
and art.
And art.
Yeah,
Painting?
sure.
Well, I want to do it. Let's go into the music a little. You're one of the greatest guitarists of all time, man. Obviously, not every day that we have, yourself on. What Guitar World ranks you in one of the top heavy metal guitars ever, and Shock Me, one of the 50 greatest guitar solos. Do you, when you have a magazine say stuff like that? Do you take more pride in that, or do you take more pride when you get like peers like Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine saying you're his first guitar hero, or Dimebag Darrell, rest in peace, a Pantera put you a tattoo of you on his chest? Like,
You know,
which carries
guys,
more weight for you, the
guys
peers
like,
or the?
when my peers comment, like John Five or Slash, who's a dear friend of mine,
Yeah.
Mike McCready from Pearl Jam, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, when I went to see John Five's first show with Motley Crue, I didn't realize that what's the group who had Hysteria? I'm so bad with names.
Was it Def Leppard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know all those guys because we've done shows together, with Kiss and so on and so forth. But, those guys, those guitar players will come up to me and said I influenced them. Almost every band that, were younger than me when Kiss came out and broke and became one of the biggest bands in the world.
Yeah.
That album Alive is like their Bible
Yeah.
of learning how to play rock guitar. At least that's what I've been told. So, I just kind of go with the flow and don't think about it. I always think about, I take life one day at a time. And, if I'm influencing somebody, that's great. Now, on top of influencing guitar players, I'm also influencing people to get sober, because I've been sober over 17 years. And, when I do meet and greets backstage, a lot of them, will show me their AA coin and say, hey, I got sober because of you. I figured if Ace Frehley could get sober, I could.
Hey,
And that just warms
congratulations.
my heart.
Congratulations. That really is the one that you said one day at a time. That really is the mantra, I'm sure.
Yeah, one of them.
One of them. Yeah. Well, congratulations. That's great.
Hey, here's something funny. I've gone to over 1,000 AA meetings, and I have the greatest sponsor in the world. He's in Ireland right now, but he had some funny things he used to tell me. He goes, young guys would come into an AA meeting and they'd say, hey, I'm still going to hang out with my buddies that drink. I'll drink club soda. And his response would be, let me tell you something. If you hang out in a barber shop, eventually you're going to get a fucking haircut. Yeah,
Oh, that's great.
he had such a good sense of humor, the way he put things, You know, I even mentioned it in my acceptance speech to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I was saying, some people believe that alcoholism, is all about willpower, and my sponsor used to say, try using willpower when you have diarrhea.
I use willpower every time I have diarrhea. You kidding me?
Oh, I would take Pepto-Bismol or other Medicaid. Certain things are not controlled with willpower. You can't control certain things in your body or your
Um,
brain. There's
um,
things that are automatic. Most people, doctors, addiction specialists say you're born an alcoholic.
mm,
It's in your DNA.
hereditary.
Most alcoholics, they had, either their father was an alcoholic or the mother was, or other family members.
Right.
I mean, ironically, in my family, I had two older brothers and sisters, and my mom and dad, and none of them turned out to be alcoholics or drug addicts.
Mm.
But I was for, most of my life until I got smart and almost killed myself a couple of times in car accidents.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you
But,
were.
it's like you put one foot in front of the other and you get moved forward. Every day is a new day.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't imagine when we think about, running the roads and heavy metal rock bands. I mean, Kiss comes to mind. I'm sure you were running pretty hard, man. So I'm glad it all worked out. And well, yeah, that's congrats on the sobriety. I wanted to, you mentioned
I
earlier. when you were a fan of sci-fi and guitar and art. Duh, I should have asked you about. Didn't you design the logo for Kiss? Not to mention the face painting over the eyes. Like, how did that whole persona thing like come about? You know, was it you?
Well, I remember we used to play at this club in Long Island called the Daisy when we were formulating the makeup designs. We were experimenting. One night I'd come out with my whole face silver. You know, I think Paul's face was all red, but Gene pretty much started that demon thing, and his, all the makeup has evolved over the years. You know, when you look at my makeup on the first album cover, everything is just silver around my eyes. Then I started doing dark around my eyes to highlight my eyes. Then when I got the cape outfit, with the mirrors on it with blue, I decided to put blue eyeshadow above my eyes. Everything evolves just
Yeah,
like anything else, evolution.
absolutely, absolutely. It must have been a wild, man. You guys
But
coming up with those personas with Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley.
as far as Paul's makeup is concerned, he never admitted it, and he probably would never admit it to this day. But Paul's makeup evolved at the Daisy, just like all of ours did. And the last makeup he was wearing the red lipstick with the white face,
Yeah.
and he had a circle around his eye, like Petey from the Young Rascals, the
Oh
dog.
yeah, of course I remember Petey,
Yeah.
the little
Well, I
rascal.
was sitting backstage with him, and I said, in the dressing room, I said, "Why don't you try putting a black star over your eye?" And
Mm.
he said, "That's not a bad idea, Ace. I'll try that." And it stuck. But, is he going to give me credit for it? I doubt it.
No, probably not. But hey, I actually, you're talking about all those, those famous face painting and stuff. Everyone knows the Gene Simmons, with the tongue out. But I heard today that they're gonna make a Happy Gilmore too, and they used the Gene Simmons mask in the first one. I think they
Yeah,
should
I
do the
remember
Ace
that.
Frehley one in the second one. You should be in the sequel.
I'm ready.
Oh,
I'd
that's
love to do
awesome.
a cameo.
You're ready.
You know,
See, call him up,
unfortunately,
folks.
I'm not friends with Adam Sandler, but, I'm up
I,
for doing anything. I'm that kind of guy.
He's up for it. By the way, speaking of new movies, my wife and I just went and saw The Fall Guy, the Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, and I Was Made for Loving You, the famous Kiss song, plays
Yeah.
throughout like the entire movie. Did you check that out?
No, I didn't. And unfortunately, I Was Made for Loving You is one of my least favorite songs to perform because my wrist cramps up because all I'm doing, except for the guitar solo, is going back and forth. Tuck, 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 tuck. My wrist I used to get a cramp in my wrist, so I hated that song.
Oh
Plus,
yeah.
I hated I know it was one of our biggest hits, but, I didn't like the fact that it was kind of disco rock because I'm really more hardcore. I'm a blues-based rock guitar player, and I like heavy metal. And I would have never written a song like that, and I don't believe Gene would have either.
Wow, I love that was one of your to hear that that's one of your least favorite.
It's
That's
not a
hilarious.
bad song. I just, as far as
Yeah.
I don't really think it fits with Kiss, just like Beth didn't.
Yeah, that's more
But
of a ballad. Yeah.
it's so ironic.
Yeah.
Like some of the biggest hits really wasn't the mainstream sound of what Kiss sounded like when you think about Kiss,
Yeah.
When you think
Yeah.
about Kiss, you think of the heavier songs. And but New York Groove. I told Eddie Kramer I do not want to record that song. And he kept hounding me during the whole record. So finally, when we moved from the Colgate estate, which we had rented, we moved to it was a recording studio in Radio City Music Hall upstairs near the roof. And I gave in to Eddie and I said, "Look, you want to try New York Groove? Let's give it a shot." Just one day I said, I'll give it a shot, because I trusted Eddie, and turned out to be my biggest hit. So go figure.
So you don't like I Was Made for Loving You. What about Detroit Rock City? What about
I
the
don't hate it. It
da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na?
wasn't fun to play.
Is Detroit
Hello?
Rock City fun to play?
Great. And I love that solo that me and Paul used to do, the harmony.
Yeah.
But I don't believe in taking credit for anybody else's ideas. That was Bob Ezrin's idea,
Yeah.
that melody.
Yeah.
And he told us exactly what to play and told Paul what the harmony was, you know. And things happen very spontaneous in those days. And they still happen with me when I record.
Yeah.
I'll
Oh
write a
yeah.
song in a day, boom. I'll write lyrics for a song in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I remember when we were doing Psycho Circus, and I wasn't involved with that album that much. I only had one song on that record, and originally it was called Shaken Sharp Shooter, and it was about a gunfighter. And we tracked it, and then Gene said to me, Ace, it's really not, the lyrics really don't go with the rest of the record. So I said to him, give me 30 minutes. I'm going to go up into the loft and write lyrics, and he suggested the title of Into the Void. And my old guitar player, Carl Cochran, had that riff. And
Yeah.
I wrote the lyrics in 30 minutes, came back down, sang it. Boom, it's on the record.
Wow, that's a great story, and I'm pretty sure what that was like your 18th album or something. That was like the first, like a reunion of sorts for all the original members.
That
Like,
was during the reunion
yeah,
tour, and
yeah, yeah.
I love Psycho Circus. Paul wrote that. We used to open the set list with that, and it
Oh
was
yeah.
a great song and fun to play.
Absolutely. Well, I promised I would spend most of the time talking about your solo stuff, and we'll wrap it back around there. But I do one final Kiss question. I have to ask about Rock and Roll All Night, the song that will outlive all of us, all of you.
I'm,
It is like the iconic. You can have probably kids that have never heard of Kiss know that song. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. But
I'm
yeah,
actually performing it again live. It's in my set.
is it? So if we come out to
Yeah,
Hollywood Casino, we'll hear you play Rock and
you
Roll
will
All.
hear me play Rock and Roll All Night. Yes, sir.
Wow, is that a new edition, or have you always kind of played
No
it over the years?
addition. I was speaking to some friends of mine. In fact, it actually may have been Steve Brown who co-produced the record, and he recommended. He said, Ace, Rock and Roll Night is one of the most popular songs on Spotify as far as Kiss songs go. Has one of the most highest downloads. I mean, I went on Spotify. I'm not one of those guys that really goes on
Yeah,
Facebook and Instagram. I have other people doing that for me most of the time.
right.
But what was I going to say?
Oh, probably the number of downloads on Spotify.
Yeah, he said Rock and Roll Night has so many downloads. I mean, like New back in the New York Groove has over 50 million. So I knew I was doing something right there, but I know Rock and Roll Night was a huge hit for us. So I said, yeah, let me try it with the guys, when we kick off the tour. And it worked out great at the end of the set.
Oh, that's so. I'm so glad that you're gonna play it here in when you come to West Virginia. That's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
You will hear me perform Rock and Roll Night. You'll hear me perform Cold Gin, Shock Me, Rip It Out, all the classic Kiss songs. Plus, we'll be doing 10,000 Volts from the new album, and we'll also be performing Cherry Medicine off the new album.
Awesome. Well, that's perfect. That's perfect. All right, everybody, you hear that? You got to come out and see the legendary lead guitarist of Kiss, Ace Frehley. I love the name again, Ace Frehley, baby. Jason, little Frehley on Frehley.
You know what I found out last year? That
What?
my father changed the family name. Originally, it was Frehley.
Oh, really?
My grandfather, yeah, he's a Dutch immigrant, and somehow, I think my father had a falling out with his dad, my grandfather, who was
Mm.
also a Freemason, Knights Templar. He's a member of the Knights of Malta. I mean, he was, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. He was very active in the community and very active in all these Freemasonry things and all that shit. And but unfortunately, I never got a chance to meet him because he was passed away before I was born.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that. So he's a
But,
Pennsylvania.
I found him on the internet, and the spelling is Freibilley or something, or
Friebely.
close to that. Freebily or something.
Was that Dutch? Is that
My
Dutch?
father changed the name to Frehley. That's why
Ah,
that's why you can't find any Fraleys in the United States, or in the Dutch or German, because my father was German and Dutch, and my mom was German and part Cherokee.
ah. So your dad basically invented that new spelling of it here in the States.
As
All right.
far as I can ascertain, yes.
Well, we got some Fraley's, my spelling, Fraley, in this area, but I think that comes from Frolic or something like that, but it's also German Irish. So all the names change when you get over here. But
You know how many people that came over from another country changed their name? I mean,
yeah.
probably at least 50% of the immigrants.
Oh yeah. I always
Think
think of
about
that scene. What is it in Godfather 2 when he changes it to? It's like you're from Corleone. All right, you shall be known as Vito Corleone.
I have so many friends that are Italian that
Yeah.
tell me, their name is short, and they'd always share with me that, oh, the name used to be this long, crazy name that was hard to pronounce, so they made
Yeah.
it shorter.
Oh.
When they were on what was that island? Ellis
Ellis
Island.
Ellis Island. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and such is life.
totally. Well, I'm just glad, no matter how we spell it, I'm glad we share phonetically a last name.
Did you ever see that interview of me on a radio show, and the DJ goes, "Ace, let's nail this down. How do you pronounce your name? Because a lot of people pronounce it freely, a
Yeah.
lot of people pronounce it Fraley." And I said, "Well, actually, there's three. There's freely, there's Fraley, and there's Fraley, like Frailey.
Yeah.
But the proper pronunciation, from what I understand, is Frehley. But I don't care how you pronounce my name as long as you say it,
I love it. Hey,
right?
I have a cousin that plays for the Cincinnati Reds, Jake Fraley. We got to get him doing use your stuff for walk-up music or something, a little Fraley music. But are you a sports guy at all?
I'm a football guy. I was asked by the Jets to perform the national anthem, and I just couldn't make it do it and fit it into my schedule. But I
Yeah.
did perform New York Groove at a Jets stadium concert.
Yeah.
I mean, the opening of the season or something. It was probably 10 degrees, and I had to wear these gloves so my fingers wouldn't freeze. And I
How do
cut
you?
the tips off, just like bikers do on leather gloves.
Yeah.
And I only performed one song, but it was insane because while I was performing the song, the Jets were like coming out, and then there was this guy who had a trained eagle that flew over my head. And then about 30 seconds later, four jets flew over the stadium. It was amazing. I'll never
Wow.
forget it as long as I live.
I don't know how you would play in that weather. Your hands were freezing like you were Admiral Byrd
Yeah,
doing
but I mean, I,
UFO.
I only had to play one song and then I got the hell out of there. But
Yeah.
there was another band that probably played at least 6 or 7 songs. And in my mind, I'm trying to think how the guitar players performed that their hands didn't freeze. Maybe they had a trick I wasn't aware of.
Maybe they were alien to bring it full
Exactly.
circle. To bring it full circle, we know they've been living among us, according to you. So they might have been playing sets.
Well, they're definitely under the ice in Antarctica.
Yeah. Their
And
hands are frozen down there too. Hey, I have we've been generous with your time, but this just popped in my head to leave it on. If there was a musician, either dead or living, that may have been an alien among us, who would it have been? Like, who is out of this world talented that you're like, that can't be mortal?
well, I think I'm part alien.
Yourself? Yeah.
I think I possibly may have been abducted in my home in Yorktown, New York, but I can't tell you for sure because I woke up halfway into my house. My legs were outside the door, and my torso was inside my home. And it seemed like they had wiped my memory. And then after about 2 or 3 weeks, I started getting dreams about being inside a UFO. And
Whoa. What age is this?
I was about 45, 50.
Okay. Okay.
But,
Wow.
I have 164 IQ, and I never went to college. I never took a guitar lesson. It just manifested. I don't know what's going on. You know, I mean, think about it. I grew up in a one-bedroom apartment in the Bronx,
Yeah.
and used to be in a street gang called the Ducky Boys, and they were actually in that movie, The Warriors.
Huh?
And what were the odds of me becoming one of the most famous guitar players in the world? Probably one in 100 million, but it
Yeah.
happened.
It
That's
happened.
why that's why I take life one day at a time. It's just like who knows what's going to happen. Somebody really famous just contacted me last night and wants to get a hold of me. I don't want to say the name because it's confidential, because I don't know what he wants to talk to me about.
Is it
But
a fellow musician or an actor or a politician? Give us a hint of the genre of
fellow musician who's
musician.
married to a famous actress, and that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Okay. That narrows it down a little, I guess, but not much. All right, that's fine. That's a good teaser. There you go. Maybe you can drop another hint at the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown
Maybe.
Racing.
Well, I think by the time I play the Hollywood Casino, we will have spoken. So I'll ask him if it's okay to make it public. I don't know if he wants to work with me on a song, or if he wants me to perform somewhere with him,
Wow.
just to come up and do a couple of songs. Shit, I'm giving too much away. Yeah,
You haven't said who it is. You're good to go.
Taylor Swift wore my makeup and jammed with him.
Really?
Never at that.
Taylor Swift wore your makeup and performed
And
with.
costume,
Really?
and played with him on stage in Nashville.
Well, I'm pretty sure if folks just take that bit of information, then they'll probably be
I'm
able
not
to.
going to say anything more.
Is it Keith Urban?
Let's move on. Let's move on.
Yeah. We won't. Well, anyway, that's good. You're always you're still going. You're teasing future stuff. That's the point. You're still going. Kiss might be doing farewell tours and stuff, but you're going on, baby. And everyone come
No,
out.
I'm not slowing down at all. If anything, I'm accelerating my career at this juncture in my life.
Absolutely. Well, come watch Ace Frehley at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races on Saturday, June 15th. Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Frehley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.